What would you think if I told you that the largest food stamp fraud in the U.S. involved a USDA employee?
Whoa.
The U.S. Department of Justice has officially charged 6 people, including a former investigator with the USDA, for allegedly orchestrating one of the largest food stamp scams in U.S. history by siphoning tens of millions of dollars. Okay.
Whoa.
Now,
Okay.
according to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, the
Mhm.
group ran a fraudulent network of 160 unauthorized EBT terminals all across the New York area. 160, okay? The machines processed more than $30 million in illegal SNAP transactions.
Holy
In New
shit.
York, that's it. We're not talking about all over the US, one state, okay? And in reality, it's just one area of New York, okay?
Right. Yeah.
And so those $30 million of transactions was part of the larger scheme that estimated $66 million in unauthorized benefits.
Holy
66
cow.
million. Okay.
That's
Now keep in
nuts.
mind there is 42 million Americans on food stamps. $1 million per person. No, that's wrong. Just checking to see if your math was right. So listen, so you may be wondering, so how does one do a scheme that generates $66 million? Okay.
For real.
Yeah. So the prosecutors are alleging that the group accepted bribes and submitted fraudulent USDA applications to obtain SNAP approval for unqualified stores. Now, already I'm like, huh? Like, I didn't get it. I was like, I don't understand what that means. Okay. So I digged. I found the indictment. And if you've ever looked at an indictment, it goes into like some serious detail. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, according to the indictment, federal officials say the scheme began back in 2019,
Okay.
pre-pandemic. Okay. So, we have a USDA employee named Arlassa Davis. Okay. She is the
Okay.
investigator for the USDA. Her job is to find and stop food stamp EBT terminal fraud. Do you see where this is going? This is not
Yeah.
a good start. Okay.
Right.
So, the other main player in this game, his name is Michael Kehoe, okay? And he allegedly created a network to supply unauthorized EBT terminals to small businesses across New York, okay? Now, Kehoe is the founder and president of a Long Island-based merchant services provider, aka they are a credit card and payment processing company that acts as an intermediary for retail stores that want to receive and process SNAP benefits using an EBT terminal. Okay.
Okay.
His
Yep.
job is to be a middleman. Okay. Now, according to prosecutors, Michael Kehoe, him and his associates falsified USDA applications, misused license numbers, and altered key documents to get fraudulent retailers approved for SNAP. Okay.
Okay.
Now, one of Michael's associates, his name is Muhammad. Okay. He was a sales agent, and his job was to find retail stores that wanted to process and redeem benefits. He then
Okay.
gave that information to Michael so he could then obtain terminals. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
In return, Mohammed charged the stores a fee to submit their applications on their behalf. Okay, so we're screwing like both sides, all sides.
Right.
Everybody's making money. Okay, now even still, that's some upper level thinking here. And I'm like, how exactly would this play out? Well,
Yeah.
thankfully, they had a nice little story in the indictment.
Oh, goody.
So, yeah, Mohammed agreed to sell an unauthorized terminal to a smoke shop in the Bronx in exchange for $17,000. Okay.
Oh.
Even though the store was not authorized to have an EBT terminal and did not sell any items that were eligible to be purchased on SNAP. Okay.
Yeah, it's a smoke shop.
It's a smoke shop. Think of
Right.
all the things you see in a smoke shop, not a single one you can buy on SNAP.
Correct. Okay.
So He then texted Michael, his boss, information from the store owner. This information included their social security number, the tax ID for the store, an email address, and a voided check. Okay? Text records show that Michael texted back to Muhammad to confirm if the store was even a real store, because he said he could not find any information about this store online. Is it even a real smoke shop? I can't find anything for it. Okay? So then Michael submitted a false application to a processing company in California to obtain an EBT terminal. Now, in between those two steps, you normally have to have an FNS number, which is issued by the USDA. You can't get a terminal unless you've been approved as a retailer to get one. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
So Michael submitted the application, including an FNS number that was not obtained by the store, and it was linked back to good old Miss Davis at the USDA. For her part, she used her personal cell phone to photograph handwritten lists of FNS numbers that she sold to FNS brokers. Okay? These brokers then sold the numbers to people like Michael Kehoe. Okay, you see how this is getting bigger and bigger? It is estimated she provided hundreds of these numbers. And she didn't just like sneak them out the back and give it to them. She kept an eye on them to make sure that they didn't get deactivated or get used too often. Okay? Now, these FNS numbers were reused multiple times on other applications to open terminals on behalf of other stores that didn't have them. Okay?
Got
The
it.
one used for the smoke shop was directly linked to 8 other stores. And it is suggested that Michael attempted to use some of these FNS numbers more than 60 times each. And
Okay.
these are legit FNS numbers.
Right.
Okay. So this could be the FNS number for like a vendor at like a farmer's market who may
Yeah.
not notice if their number is being used for something else. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Even a large company, once you have an FNS number, you wouldn't keep tabs on it. You know what I mean? You applied, you got
Well,
approved, you know what I mean? Like
some
it's
of them might be too big to even realistically notice.
well, how would you know if someone was using your driver's license number without your
Yeah.
permission?
Yeah.
Not unless you got mail. And if they were using your driver's license and they put their address, that mail would come to them.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know. Now, here's where it gets so these two men, Michael and Muhammad, okay, they received money to get the applications and do all the process, da, da, da. But then they also talked to the stores and educated them and let them know that if they were not doing enough credit and debit charges compared to EBT charges. So they tapped the terminals to know how much they were processing. Okay. And
Right.
it's estimated that they were getting like $1 per charge. You know what I mean? Like they were getting a charge, like a chargeback per charge. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And they explained to these business owners that an imbalance of charges would trigger fraud detection due to a low number of credit and debit card transactions, because a legitimate store would have similar volume in EBT and non-EBT charges.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. You wouldn't have a store that had 99% EBT charges.
Right.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Now, here's where it gets more fun. Mohammed was arrested in July 2024. He was released with an ankle monitor. Okay. In February 2025, he disabled his monitor and he fled to the country of Jordan. In May, so last month, in May 2025, he was ordered to appear in court.
Yep.
He did not show. So
Shock.
he is still at large and considered a fugitive.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll do it.
So all these questions about oversight are just insane. Okay. And here's what gets me. Okay. So you've got the USDA secretary, Brooke Rollins. Okay. She goes on Fox Business and she believes that 20 to 30% of the program's annual funding,
Mm-hmm.
which is estimated closer to 200 billion, may be lost to fraud. Okay? And she says that this recently uncovered $66 million scheme is just the tip of the spear. Okay? So in her mind, cutting food stamps reduces fraud. Anybody else
So
know that's not how this works?
40 billion, 40 to 60 billion dollars in fraud
And this is,
is
you will notice the majority of fraud when it comes to SNAP is not from the single mom who applied for it illegally. It's not being given out to undocumented workers. No, no, no. The majority of the fraud is taking place where you have criminals that are actually stealing, usually through internet portals, where like they set up a thing that says, here, go check your balance here to see if you got a one-time bonus. They go there, they steal your number, and then all of a sudden you can't get your food stamps again.
right.
Okay.
Yep.
Or like this, we have a USDA inspector giving out these very, very regulated FNS numbers to get illegal, card machines to process. So I'm just like, oh, maybe
It's
the people on food stamps are not the problem.
dude, if there's a single mom who's getting like $50 more than she should based on outdated calculations, to be honest, it's nothing compared to the white collar crime
The
and the
blatant
blatant.
criminal,
Yeah.
masterminds, the
Yeah.
guys that are literally like Alabama has been hit really, really bad where up until December 2024, if your food stamps were stolen, the USDA was replacing them. Okay,
Right.
because they could see where the fraudulent charges were and they were replacing them. Nope. Starting in January 2025, if your food stamps are stolen off of your card to no fault of your own, meaning you used a machine that had a skimmer on it, you went to a bad website, it does not matter. You will not get your food stamps back unless the state wants to pay for them because the USDA isn't going to do anything about it. That's crazy. Now, just to give you an idea, okay?
Mm,
So this whole ring of people, 6 people, they are all charged with one count of conspiracy to steal government funds. You would
mm.
think that's a big thing,
Yeah.
okay? It carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison. That's it. 66 You can steal $66 million from the government and you will get 5 years.
I
They are charged with
just
one count of theft of government funds.
uh,
That one carries a maximum sentence of 10 years. They're also one count of misappropriation of USDA benefits. That one, surprisingly, 20 years in prison.
oh,
So, steal from the government as a whole, 5 years. Steal, if you like theft by deception of government funds, 10 years. If you specifically steal USDA funds, then it's 20 years. Those are all different charges. There is possible of them to be only found guilty of one or all three. Okay.
right.
Now, the investigator, Miss Davis, she is additionally charged with one count of conspiracy to commit bribery because obviously
Uh,
she was paid handsomely for her pictures.
oh, yes.
That carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison. She also has one specific count of bribery, that's 15 years in prison, and one
Hmm.
count of conspiracy to commit honest services wire fraud, that one 20 years. And those, of course, are all maximum sentences. It's not saying they're going to be sentenced to that. That's just the maximum amount that a judge could sentence them to. Now, of course, Mohammed, because he fled, has additionally been charged with failure to appear, so that could add an additional 10 years to his sentence. Okay. But this blows my mind that the USDA is pulling food stamp data and saying what food stamp recipients can use and cannot use based on data of how it's used. But we now know that approximately 66 million fraudulent charges in one
Through
state,
one state, through
one
one entity.
one entity. So, how good is the data? And then, once again, if you knew that someone was going to a smoke shop and using an EBT card to buy anything in there,
anything,
why did nobody, hello, fraud line, I got a tip for you, okay? And it is not even clear how this whole thing got uncovered.
right?
I'm hoping to God it was some nosy Nelly who said, "Hey, I don't think this is right," and they jumped in and figured it out. But good golly, when you hear all the time, okay, let's put this to a rest. If you really think it is that easy to defraud the government to get food stamps illegally, I want you to go out there and apply for food stamps. I want you to jump through all the hoops and see about all the documentation. Now they have it to where they will auto check your bank account. They will auto connect to your employer so that way they can pull your check stubs. And you tell me how easy it was for you to go through the whole process and then tell me who is fraudulently getting benefits.
Okay.
Please,
So here's
please
the
let
thing.
me know.
So for food stamp fraud, or if the fraudulent amount is under $100, it could result in a fine of up to $1,000 and a year in prison. According to the federal criminal attorneys, if the fraudulent amount exceeds $5,000, penalties can increase up to $250,000 and up to 20 years in prison. Actually committing food stamp fraud is higher
Worse
penalized on the individual than it is
to
on
the
the
people that are stealing them.
facilitating it. To the
Yeah.
people facilitating the fraud, the
Yeah.
penalties are lower
Yeah.
than if
Then if
you
I actually receive
commit.
food stamps and then I did it so fraudulently,
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
yeah, it's wild.
Let us know down below. Are you shocked that there's an investigator in the USDA who is just giving out free EBT terminals? Are you shocked that we have so much fraud in a system, but it doesn't go back to the people who are getting them, quote unquote, wrongly? Let us know what your thoughts are down below.